I mean, the CBO is the only arbiter they have. They are the official body that provides numbers to Congress. But remember, budgets reflect costs. They don't reflect benefits. They don't decide whether things are a good or bad idea. We elect officials to make those calls. And in my judgment, these bills are budgetarily dangerous and not a good idea. But that's my judgment.
It's gigo.
That's not.
Can't you just say it's gigo? It's garbage in, garbage out. You give them fictional statistics, and it doesn't stop anyone from using that to sell the program in what is not a intellectually honest way.
Well, I mean, look, the CBO does get used. It was used when I was there. It'll be used again in the future. You can write bills to get the answer you want.
We're going to hear today. We have CBO. Tim Kaine coming.
You can ask CBO the question.
We're going to hear today that it's going to cut the deficit.
That doesn't mean that it's not better to have high-quality information in the process than not.
But that makes it almost sound like the CBO is completely ineffective, that they can only be held to these things. And you would argue that it's a very effective organization, right?
I mean, a company wouldn't analyze numbers like that. Right, they would look at probabilities of actions.
Oh, yes. The thing you would really like to have, and the CBO actually provides this, is something having to do with the range of possible outcomes, the likelihood of different outcomes. If you look at some of the CBO documents, they actually include things called fan charts that show the range of budgetary outcomes. But I can say honestly, I don't think the Congress is a very good consumer of those numbers. It is they are wedded to the idea of a single number, and that becomes the currency of the realm. It's not a strong point.
I guess the biggest question that I have with the healthcare legislation are what you continue to hear about the number of years of cuts, 10 years of budget cuts that go to pay for 6 years of benefits that are paid out. How does that add up? How does that kind of fuzzy math work?
The bills are riddled with every budget gimmick that Congress has invented. So the things you typically do are you front-load taxes, fees, back-load spending. The most extreme form of that in this bill is this thing called the Class Act, a new entitlement program for long-term care insurance. They collect $50 billion in premiums up front. That shows up in the CBO estimate. None of the spending, which will go on forever, shows up at all. So, I mean, that's the Congress structuring it deliberately to get that answer. I think there are really two things that just jump out in this bill that make me nervous about the budgetary consequences. Number one is we are setting up two new entitlement programs that grow at 8% a year as far as the eye can see. Those are in CBO estimates. We know the economy is not going to grow at 8%. We know tax revenue is not going to grow at 8%. How can we set up two new entitlement programs that are going to grow that fast when we haven't taken any of the other ones that are already a big problem off the table? That makes me nervous. Second is, in this bill, we're going to have health care subsidies for one person who makes $48,000 of $9,000 a year. So if your employer offers you insurance, you have to take that insurance. You get nothing. You take another person who makes $48,000, their employer doesn't offer them insurance. They get to go to the exchange, pick whatever they want, get $9,000 in subsidies on a $15,000 policy. That's going to last about a nanosecond. And we're going to be back here having a story about how Congress has expanded this new entitlement because not all the people who should be were eligible. And that's a real serious possibility.
Well, as a